This video is going to go over a few examples of how to use the price guide properly, as well as cover some of the most common mistake areas when it comes to pricing out jobs. So first, I want to go over roofing here. It's relatively self-explanatory, but obviously you're going to get your measurements first. Let's just say we have a 30 square roof. And of course, you're up north, we're going to be using GAF Timberline at $650 a square. So that part's pretty simple. You just do the 650 times the 30, and you're going to end up with 19.5. All right. Now let's say out of those 30 squares, 10 of those squares had a pitch of 12, which would be considered a steep pitch. Well, that's not factored into the 650 per square, so you have to add that on to the job. So if you go down here to steep pitch, and you can see if it's a pitch of 12, if you follow that line over, that's $60 per square. So if I have $60 per square at 10 squares, that's going to be an additional $600 that I need to add on. Okay. Now say they have a chimney. We're going to go ahead and flash that chimney and build a cricket. So for example, that's $235 each, so that's a total of $470. And let's just say hypothetically they had some skylights that needed to be touched as well. We're going to go ahead and replace those. Let's say they were 2x4. Of course, every time you do a skylight, take interior and exterior pictures, add it to your contract. As you can see, that's $1,350, so that's a total of $2,700. All right, so when we add those up, let's do it. 19.5 plus 600 plus 470 plus 2,700, and then the last thing you have to factor in is, of course, the warranty. That's an additional 600. So in this particular example, my par, because all these numbers represent true par, my par would be 23,870. Then of course you would adjust it upwards to get your day price, and a little bit further to get your everyday low price or year price. So that's an example with a roof. Most of you guys are pretty consistently accurate when it comes to roofing, as long as your measurements are tight. Moving forward, insulation, of course, remember these factor in adding on top of what they already have. So you just take the square footage of the coverage area, multiply it by either 190 or $2.70 based on how much you're adding. Don't forget to account for all of the recessed lights, because those are $70 a pop for the covers. The warranty is $350. The door is done through Provia or EntriLink. Windows are something that can be a little bit of a source of confusion. So let's take these one at a time. So my first example here is going to be a double hung window that's going to be X3. That's going to be 85 United inches. So it's color coded. Your X3s are going to be green, your X5s are going to be blue. So if I take a look at X3 and I have double hung, you'll see the different thresholds in relation to how much did you charge based on how big it is. So if it's 85 United inches, which would be between 61 and 101, then obviously my base price is going to be $660. Okay, that's pretty simple. Now let's take a look at this next one. So if it's X5 and it's a 3-light slider, let's go there. All right, so it's 110 United inches, which is considered oversized. So with a 3-light slider, you take a look and wait a minute, there's no price there. So if you look right underneath 3-light slider options, add 50% to the 2-light price. So if this was a 2-light slider, let's figure out what that would be. So the base price would be $800, so I'll take that. Now if I take that $800 and add 50% of that being $400, that gives me a base price of $1,200. So that's what I'm starting out with, and then as you can see, each additional United inch over 101 would be $8 each. So 110 United inches is 9 United inches oversized, So very simply, just take the 9, multiply it by 8, and you get 72. So it's $72 extra for being oversized. So if I take that, that one particular window would be $12.72. So that's what you do with that situation. Now, this last one is a sliding glass door, and the way that you price these has changed. So if we go to the sliding glass door section, and this is an X5, this one in particular would be 5.5 feet, okay? So if you look at the instructions, right where it says custom size, and custom size would be 5.5, would be an example. You just add 40% to the next size up. So if it's a 5-foot door, normally the base price would be $29.90, as you can see right there. So the next size up would be 6 feet. So I would take that 6-foot price, which is $31.50, and then I would add 40%, right? So if I take my calculator, $31.50 times 1.4 to increase it by 40%, that gets me a total of $44.10, and I would use that as the base price for a 5.5-foot sliding glass door. That's X5. And then I would add on anything I needed to add on, including a kick lock or a multi-point lock or whatever the case may be. So that's how you handle that situation when you're dealing with a door that's not exactly 5, 6, or 8 feet. All right. Everything else in there, if you just take it slow, take it step by step, line by line, it should be relatively self-explanatory. Please keep in mind that, you know, some people are forgetting, if you do less than 5 windows, don't forget to add that minimum order charge. So, you know, 3 being the minimum, so if you're doing 3 or 4 windows in one job, you have to add on that extra $800 charge. I know that's been forgotten a couple of times. Now, siding and trim, something here has changed relatively significantly as well. If you take a look at trim, there's a reason why this is outlined in red. This is the change. So your trim, for example, your fascia, rake, and freeze is $14 a linear foot, excuse me. However, if you're only capping the trim, and the only thing you're doing is the trim, no windows, no other gutters, no roofing or anything of that nature, then you have to change that $14 a linear foot to $16.50 a linear foot for trim only jobs. So that's a new change there that you guys need to kind of internalize and just remember every time you're on a trim lead. Everything else here in terms of capping and trim right there is pretty self-explanatory for you. Another thing that I know that has been forgotten recently is the dumpster fee when we're dealing with siding. So if you're tearing off siding, right, wood, vinyl, asbestos, whatever the case may be, you have to remember to include that $1,200 dumpster charge. I know a lot of people have missed that recently, so just don't forget that whenever you're pricing out siding. Gutters, more of the same. Please keep in mind that the gutter warranty is 30 years. In case you didn't know that, and it's $350. All right, so those are just some examples, guys. For the most part, a lot of you are pricing out things right. Keep in mind that RoofSnap is now currently, as of November 14th, 2018, true par pricing when you're in the primary office. So make sure that you're not pricing it any other way. It's no longer 15% over par. Some people thought it was double par. It is now exactly par and should exactly line up with the numbers that you have in this price guide. So definitely pour over this price guide, look over it line by line, make sure that you are familiar with every single line, and if you're not, reach out to me or any of your managers and we'll be able to direct you and point you in the right direction. But any question of how much does this cost, how much does that cost, you should first be looking into your price guide, because there's a very good chance that the answer is in here. All right, so you guys happy selling, and hit up a manager or myself if you have any further questions.